What is the power of creativity? The perfect pixel? The right note? The swish of a skirt on the runway? At times, it's a challenge. A choice between doing the same thing over and over again until it's right, or finding a new way. The power of creativity is innovation. Innovation allows for experimentation, for risk-taking. It harnesses creators' skills, allowing artists to evolve in ways they didn't think possible. And with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, anything is possible. The EIT will grow a community to strengthen Europe's creative and cultural industries, paving the way for new skills and new opportunities for entrepreneurs and innovators to flourish across Europe. It'll change your work, change your thinking, change the world. Because innovation is creativity, it is evolution, it is power.
Good day, or guten Tag, I think would be the most appropriate to say. Welcome to the Frankfurt Book Fair and the Frankfurt studio, discussing important things in creative industries, publishing, and Europe in general. My name is Sten Salover. I will be your moderator today for the next 45 minutes, and we are going to talk about a really exciting and I would say a great structural opportunity that will be opening up in a few days. 26th of October, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology will launch a new creative industries KIC, or key industry consortium, that in the next 7 to 8 years will revolutionize how creative industries in Europe will grow, transform, and innovate. Today with me to talk about this new, exciting, and I would say forward-looking initiatives are Mr. Martin Gern. He is the director of the EIT. We have Anna-Liisa Palatu, who is the CEO and founder of Vula, a company that uses waste wool to replace bubble wrap. And Anna-Liisa has been participating and benefiting from several initiatives of EIT. And last but not least, today joining us from Brussels, I presume, is Lucia Recalde Langarica. She's the head of the unit at the Audiovisual Industry and Media Support Programs at the DG Connect at the European Commission. And prior to that, she was a part of the management for the DG of Education of Culture, and she joined the European Commission in 1995, excuse me. Lucia, I would like to turn to you. Welcome, good to see you. It's a very exciting time right now for Europe. We're here at the Frankfurt Book Fair. European industry is finally opening up. We see a lot of excitement in the cinema sector where people are returning to cinemas. We see a lot of excitement at the publishing sector. Today we see many exhibitors, participants here at the book fair. And also at the Commission side, it's a year of big and very optimistic changes and proposals. New financing schemes are being launched, the recovery and resilience mechanism, the Media Invest, the new initiative for news, virtual reality coalition, and so forth. How the EIT KIC relates to those opportunities, to your portfolio and the Europe in general?
Sten and all, thanks very much for the invitation. I wish I could be there with you. Unfortunately, this time is not possible. Maybe next year. So the KIC is a wonderful complement to the initiatives that we have put in place. Just allow me to give you 5 reasons why I think the KIC is the great initiative at the right time. The KIC is going to bring together talent from all over Europe, multidisciplinary talent, because talent has no borders today in Europe. And by bringing people from different backgrounds, we are convinced that it can really spark innovation. And I work primarily with the audiovisual sector. We see that the relations and connections to other creative industries are of the essence for the audiovisual industry itself. The KIC will do this new portfolio of activities. It's not just one activity alone. It's this combination of activities from education, entrepreneurship to innovation. And this is something that in the Commission with our programs, we are perhaps a bit fragmented and we need this holistic approaches that the EIT is going to bring about. The EIT will think about impact long term, impact, economic impact, and societal impact. And we see the power of the creative industries in really bringing this societal and both economic impact, because they have been they were resilient before the crisis, and now they need this kind of booster. I think the kick could be a booster. And finally, this requires long-term commitment. And for an industry like creative industries that have been so fragmented, a project that can federate them, unite them on a long-term basis is really very much welcome on our side. Don't forget, a kick is to be run by a business. And I think for creative industries, instilling this business mindset across the whole ecosystem again can bring about a long and really long lasting systemic impact.
Lucia, we all know that creativity in its various forms, publishing, audiovisual, performance, education, but also licensing and the business you said, is really at the heart of Europe, at the heart of the European values, at the heart of European mission. How do you see, you briefly mentioned the role of the business. How do you see in the longer 7 to 10 years game what the kick is set to achieve? How it really is the positioning? Creative Europe has been a great endorser priorly to piloting activities to validate hypotheses for European content, for European excellence. How does KIC relate specifically in the roles of what previously has been the major catalyzer for industry, and how it can amplify or take it further in the strategic plane?
Well, Creative Europe is there to stay. Creative Europe, the way we operate is more short term. This is why I said at the beginning that we need something that is more long term. And with Creative Europe, we are really trying to foster these multidisciplinary approaches, but not to the level of ambition that the KIC has. So the KIC could actually, the Creative Europe could incubate some initiatives that could be taken up much further and with a more financial ambition in the KIC. Multidisciplinary approaches. This is really, we see more and more convergence in terms of content. What is today a film? What is today a book? What is today a video? We really see simply good content that is exploited using different formats. And here, really making the most of this multidisciplinarity, I think I see the KIC really fitting and bringing about really new forms of expression in 5 to 7 years' time, fueled by the power of technologies. My last point, but certainly an important one, is a scale. We know that after the COVID crisis has amplified the challenges that already existed in the creative industries. Market fragmentation is one. The power of the platforms is another one. And the KIC, through these very innovative ways of collaboration, can really bring the much needed scale that we need to operate in a more and more integrated internal market in Europe. So from that point of view, new models of collaboration in terms of content creation, business models, distribution of content, audience are really important, and the KIC again can play a role there. Final point, data. Data is the new currency these days. So a KIC, because of its long-term perspective, these multidisciplinary approaches, and by bringing together content and tech industries, I think they can really be extremely powerful and making full use of the potential of data in the creative industries.
So if I summarize those again, so new forms of creativity, multidisciplinarity across industries and borders. Number 2, scalability, looking at how we can invigorate the European industry. Number 3, taking this to a global arena and understanding that we have measures and opportunities to play a competitive, excitingly competitive game. And number 4, yes, putting in place those exciting data and audience-driven pipelines. Thank you, Lucia. We'll come back to the discussion a little bit later. Martin, you have been the director of EIT since 2019, and but you were an interim director and CEO since 2014, and you also have had a long career in European Commission for 15 years in various capacities. Martin, you and your team are overseeing this new exciting venture, and I must mention that the EIT kick doesn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from a long history of very well validated different types of interventions in the market, in climate, in energy, in digital, and so forth. Would you walk us a little bit more in detail how this new exciting initiative will play out?
Yeah, thank you very much, Stan. Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, Annalisa, for being with us today to promote and bring to you here at the Frankfurt Book Fair this new opportunity for culture and creative industry. I would like to pick up one word that Lucia used, which is ambition, because what we are doing, what we're planning to do in less than a week, launching a call for a new knowledge and innovation community on cultural and creative sectors and industry is unprecedented. It is really an ambition that is unique in Europe, and it's the first time we try to create a pan-European partnership where the universities, where the research, where the business can get together to really boost and accelerate innovation in this field. And I would like to explain you what we do at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology so far with our 8 knowledge and innovation communities, and also why we think in particular in this sector there is a massive innovation potential that such a new initiative can take forward. So at the EIT we have been, in the last 10 years, building Europe's largest innovation ecosystem, and that innovation ecosystem has already very impressive results. So we have supported over 3,000 ventures with 2,000 partners in Europe working together, who all together put on the market more than 1,000 new products, innovative products and services that raised over 3 billion euro of investment. And this has been created in a gradual process through our 8 knowledge and innovation communities. They are all focused on the knowledge triangle, meaning a closer cooperation between business, between academia, between the education sector and research. And through this cooperation, it is not only possible to put faster innovations to the market, but also give innovators such as Annalisa, which you hear from in a minute, the opportunity to grow and accelerate their innovation process. And that is something in particular in Europe we haven't been very good at. We've been very good at research, we've been very good at university, we have fantastic ideas, but we're not as good as other parts of the world to put those on the market. And working together in such a close ecosystem over many years, building trust, building relationships is how we can change that dynamic. So you can see our 8 knowledge and innovation communities there. What makes them unique is that they're always focused on societal challenges, so on particular sector, but they're giving a bottom-up opportunity to create innovations where they come, and good ideas are all over Europe. So we try to find the best ideas in Europe and help them to grow and accelerate with whatever support they may need to get to the next level. Why we think now this is a good idea to come to the culture and creative sector, which is new for the EIT, I think it's 2 evident reasons. First of all, there is an enormous innovation potential. There is a lot of fragmentation within different sectors of culture and creativity, but also across Europe. There is not enough cooperation across different countries, so many good ideas never really reach the scale, never really reach the market. And that's something we can change through such a knowledge and innovation community. Moreover, this sector has been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. I think that is very evident, even if you look at the book fair, at the sector here. But now is actually the moment to get back to growth, to bring more innovations, to accelerate them, and like that create employment, but also create the solutions that help the sector to grow again and really create a pan-European dynamic that can accelerate things. Now, our aim is to create such a sustainable innovation ecosystem. It will be supported by the European Institute of Innovation and Technology with funding, but of course also with all the support, advice of the 10 years of lessons learned that we have to offer. And of course, joining that innovation community means also joining our broader ecosystem, the 8 knowledge and innovation communities that we already have. So hopefully we can overcome the fragmentation and power lots of new ventures, technologies, help them to get to the market and make Europe a global player and global leader in this field. What each knowledge and innovation community does is train entrepreneurs, helping innovators at an early stage, bring them to scale, but also collaborations between different actors to bring solutions which hold the sector back, which prevent innovation potential to materialize. Now, what will happen, and that's why we're so excited to be here today. In less than a week, we launched the call on the 26th of October, and then we invite consortia, meaning business, universities, research organizations, other organizations, publishers, many of them we want to reach here today at the book fair to be part of that, to participate in this call, to participate in this consortia, and then hopefully after we close the call next March, be designated as the EIT Culture and Creativity and deliver in the next 7 to 15 years the innovation, the entrepreneurship that the sector needs and that makes Europe a leader in this field. So very happy to be here today. If you want more information, there's plenty on our website. There'll be info seminars coming up in November. So any of you interested, please check it out. We also have a matchmaking platform, or approach me or any of my colleagues to get involved. Thank you very much. Stan, that's my introduction.
Thank you so much, Martin. We're going to get into a little bit of your previous experience, what makes a successful kick, and who is it exactly for, and how matchmaking happens, and so forth in detail. But Anna-Liisa, I'd like to turn to you right now. You have been celebrated all over Europe, including our Estonia, of taking something which, on a first sight, might not be so innovative, such as wool, and actually turning it into a very innovative product, solving the huge bubble wrap crisis. And since we are in a post-COVID world where everything will be, or a lot of things will be around delivery and packaging and so forth, also optimizing the way how we package goods needs a lot of innovation. I'd like to really talk to you in your work and you've done with Vula, how have creativity and innovation come together in this groundbreaking product?
Yeah, I think that creativity and innovation really helped us gain momentum. So the model for starting a high growth company is usually the same across all industries. You first find a problem that has critical mass, meaning that there's like a large number of companies who need this problem solved so bad that they're actually willing to pay money for it. Then you make a prototype and you start fundraising. So in our case, our idea or our product was closely related to manufacturing and making physical products, since we were taking wool, sheep wool that would go to waste across Europe, and we would use it to make a new material that replaces bubble wrap and that doesn't derive from fossil fuels and single use. So when we got to fundraising and started putting together our first round, we were essentially competing for funds with hundreds and hundreds of software companies. And from the point of view of investors, software companies have a much more, let's say, logical business model. And manufacturing and hardware companies are actually rarely funded in the early stages because they need capital investments and investors don't understand it or they don't like it. So we had to compete to these software companies, and I think this is where creativity and innovation really changed the game for us. Because if an investor looks through like 50 to 200 companies in 1 week, creativity and creative solutions stand out, and sheep wool stood out. So we were able to complete our funding round quite quickly and easily because we had this creative approach that kind of acted like a USB to us. So in that sense, I think creativity can be a huge selling point in business.
I want to actually continue on this line, because not only you're innovating product packaging and manufacturing, but you're also providing a sustainability approach. And since Europe also in creative industries has very strongly prioritized green, your product comes very very important in there as well. Can you a little bit talk about us? How has been your journey with EIT? EIT in one way has been very ecosystem centric in enabling big dramatic shifts in ecosystems, but it's been also very pivotal in supporting the career of innovative entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we've had quite a long journey together with EIT. So the first point of contact that we had was the Climathon, which is a global climate hack organized by EIT. So that was about 2 years ago when we had basically just started Woola. So at that time, I committed to becoming an entrepreneur full time. So I quit my job in management consulting, but things didn't really go as planned. So I went through 6 business ideas that all failed before getting to Woola. And then I saw this, like it was probably on social media, I read about Climathon. And one of the businesses that I was working on the side was an e-commerce store where I was selling my own clothing brand. And that's where I saw the packaging problem and the need to replace bubble wrap. So I read about sheep wool, being a huge waste, considering that 90% of it is just burned or buried across Europe. So I figured this is a good idea to test out at the Climathon. And I attended the Climathon in Tallinn, and we made a first prototype there, and we got a lot of instant feedback, which I think was great, and which is a probably good tip for everyone wanting to test out ideas quickly. And we won the hackathon, and that was a huge shock for us because that was the first time that we had actually won something or things went well. And we ended up going to the finals in Paris, and we also won there, which was kind of a game changer for us. We saw, like, from the recognition that we got from EIT and the network, that this is a business idea that actually has potential. And we also got financial support from winning the hack. And then a few months later, we participated in InnoEnergy's competition, which we also won and got more financial support from there. And I think this is where this was a huge contribution to our success later on, because with this support, so both like in terms of the funds that we were given from winning the competitions, as well as the knowledge and the contacts, we were able to reach our first results, like actual, sales and traction. And that meant that we could raise equity funding very quickly. And this is a huge problem that early stage companies are facing. They often have to accept very bad deals, equity deals from investors or VCs, because they're so early that they're not able to show any results yet, but they need money to develop their idea.
Yes, or there might not be a market precedent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just might be too early. So these companies need investment, and if they don't have access to, support, financial support from EIT, they will have to go with funds that will often offer very bad terms, which will kind of ruin their chances for success in the later rounds because they have already given up too much control. So in that sense, like I said, our journey with EIT has been quite long already within the 2 years that we've been active, but it has definitely played a part in our success.
Thank you. Lucia, I'm turning back to you. A very inspirational story where we can see that those multidisciplinary innovations can that go from one area and sprout into others can very well happen and grow. We are here at the book fair, right? Publishing is a very big core of European industries. It's something that powers a lot of our creativity. How do you see that innovations also in the publishing area can contribute to not only for European recovery, but Europe's growth in terms of the content digital industries globally?
Well, indeed, you're absolutely right. The publishing industries are a fundamental part of the creative industries, and they generate alone a significant part of our GDP. Not to mention the number of people employed in the sector. I think what I would like to highlight is that perhaps the publishing industry has been front runners in really trying to embed and take up new technologies. I hope other sectors won't be angry at me, But it is true, when I was at the Frankfurt Book Fair, I was amazed. I was really surprised by seeing the number of interesting projects already embedding these tech developments. And I think from that point of view, the publishing sector, we see now all the developments when it comes to audio, the podcast, how these new business models are evolving, could be inspirational for other creative sectors where perhaps there has been a bit slower in really thinking about this take up of different technologies. So I think this is an important element. And then I come back again and again to this multidisciplinary element, because I think the publishing sector is really well placed to take a very important role in that. I see already the synergies with the audiovisual industry when it comes to scripts. Many of the good scripts come from books. And I think there is much more that could be done in really fostering these connections between, for example, the video games, the publishing industry, and the audiovisual industry already at creative stage. So here from my side, I would say that I see a lot of potential for this industry to come out of the crisis stronger, building on its main asset, which is the fact that there are small and big industries very much present in Europe. It's one sector where it's not just SMEs. There are also big, large European groups that could actually drive the process forward. And this very decisive strategic uptake of technologies that could be inspirational for other industries.
Thank you. And ironic, saying out that it's very, very strange that some of the most popular content in those big platforms that are sometimes a bit concerned for Europe is coming from Europe. So I guess here's the really perfect opportunity to build both that IP or intellectual property capacity, the audience capacity, and the technological capacity to see that amazing growth in Europe, I guess.
Well,
Yes.
if you allow me to say, I think in Europe, we are extremely good at one thing. We are good storytellers. And storytellers can be in books, can be in many different formats. So really, we really must really take advantage of our creative power and this capacity we have to tell a lot of diverse stories.
Yes. Thank you. Martin, Lucia said we have an amazing opportunity. The halls behind us here at the book fair are full of this great European IP, artistic expression and so forth. What makes a good kick? We see that the ambition is quite long term, 7 to 15 years, and we need the combination, I guess, of strong storytelling power, innovative product and service power, and then the industrial might and willingness to cooperate along different verticals. What makes a good kick, and who should apply in that kick?
Yeah, I mean, let me pick up on what Lucia said about the opportunity in the publishing sector or in creative industries as a whole, because of course, in the end, the question is what makes a good kick in this field. I think it's evident that this sector is in a huge transformation, and then innovation is an opportunity, but it's even a must, because especially the acceleration we've seen in the last year means that now is the moment to look at new formats, to look at new innovations and really bring them to the market faster than the competition.
And have market validation exercises.
Exactly. So that's, I think, the starting point of saying what makes a good kick in this field, meaning do we have an innovation potential, and do we have a group of partners that together are willing to form a long-term sustainable ecosystem that brings permanently innovations to the market. And of course, these must be successful innovations, because the successful innovations will allow to make the partnership sustainable. And the EIT is like a framework, but also a catalyst to make such a partnership happen. So a good partnership with a good strategy, meaning a strategy that builds on that innovation potential, is really what we're looking for now in this call. That means
preferably, I presume that also could be cross-border, cross-national, and really opening up.
Exactly.
So more of a joint market, if not a single market in Europe.
So you need a partnership. That means probably education sector, universities, businesses, companies, especially
R&D.
industry, R&D, who are aligned behind such a vision, such a strategy, and are willing to put such a kick into operation and then develop education programs, because I think we need more of those talents, entrepreneurial talents, to find the most exciting companies, startups, help them to grow, accelerate their growth, and also work together to solve particular challenges that sector faces. So if you have that combination, and then of course you write it up in a coherent proposal following our call, which will come out next week, then you have an ideal kick being formed.
So that, I guess, would also mean a little bit setting aside some how can I say, some inter-European competition. I remember a few years ago having a conversation with some of the CEOs in the European publishing sector who said that the competition is not anymore between number one or number two in the market, but it's a market versus a company over there. So I guess the encouragement also would be to say, as large, perhaps even potential competitors across different verticals or vertical portfolios to come together, how they could open a market together for the joint market growth. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, first, I think we should have that confidence that we can build also in Europe global players and really be market leaders in certain aspects in the creative industry. And that, I think, is one of the ambition that should be there. And secondly, of course, to do that in a long-term way, to really work together in a strategic alliance. This is really what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. And I think the interesting opportunity there really is that if you are coming from a corporate sector, and I'm sure you're listening us today as well, then that spillover can also come, for example, in engaging investors through their portfolios. I guess it also can involve corporate venturing or CVC piloting and so forth to make the landscape more stronger and active.
Indeed, as I showed my slide before, there will be a core partnership that will create the strategy, drive the strategy, and implement it for 10 to 15 years. But then, of course, on top of that, you have to connect across the European ecosystem, national ecosystems, find the most exciting, powerful startups in that field, work together with the investors. And all that ecosystem coming together across Europe will really create the type of ambition that can make a structural change and transformation in cultural and creative industry in Europe.
Meanwhile, if you are watching us and you have questions, please post them in the chat. We have a little bit more than 10 minutes to go with this exciting conversation. So we'll be able to take your questions as well. Anna-Liisa, I want to a little bit kind of probe in there from kind of an investor perspective, that you said that the support what you received from EIT was twofold. One was the expertise of, or even threefold, validating your product and understanding that there's the scientific or community validation, then kind of supporting your kind of community activities and linking up with others, and then there was the financing perspective. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want to, Martin and Anna-Liisa, come to you, like where does the EIT kick in that respect come in the kind of investment landscape? I guess it could be an interesting vehicle that can contribute between the grants and the VC investments as well. What are your thoughts in there?
Yeah, I think like the key part here would be joining very early stage. So before like any kind of pre-seed financing, I think that's like the critical part before an idea or a product is validated. Because like you said, I definitely agree to the fact that EIT can support on 3 levels, right? So you have the validation, the knowledge, and the financing. And from the validation part, I think this is very important because I like with my experience in entrepreneurship, I believe the fact that you should validate an idea with 0 budget. So you should, like go to a hackathon or an event like, Climate Kick has different kinds of accelerators where you validate an idea first before investing any more like time and money into it. So in this sense, I think the biggest role that the kicks can play are in the earliest stages, which are like the make or break stages if we're talking about the company. So I think this is where we already saw with our experience as well that this is where we had like the critical part that EIT played in our story.
So a critical opportunity here, kind of recapture the very early stage European innovation and not letting it to escape to outer space.
Absolutely, that's a great opportunity there.
Martin, now going into the specifics, 26th of October coming up very, very soon. Of course, this is a very big undertaking and a long-term undertaking. I understand that forming a consortium to come to the final proposal in next year is also a collaborative process. So could you a little bit talk about the matchmaking, the support and the community aspect of EIT, helping ambitious corporations, innovators, educators, R&D labs, perhaps even national governments and support organizations coming together to form this kick?
So what will happen next week on the 26th of October is that EIT will open the call for consortia to apply to form this new exciting knowledge and innovation community. This call will be open for 5 months, and we expect these consortia to consist of around 50 partners coming from diverse mix of, as you said, industry, business background, R&D background, university background, or whoever has the potential to contribute to the
infrastructure background
at this stage. So we expect a number of consortium to apply, and of course it will be a competition. So the EIT governing board will take the final decision after validation by independent experts of the different proposals and select the most promising proposal consortium and designate them as the new knowledge and innovation community already before next summer. So at this moment, it is really in particular also the industry players that we're looking at, because without this very, very strong business dimension being part of such a consortia, it obviously cannot have the type of ambition of bringing more innovations to the market. And of course, we're looking at those organizations which feel that such a pan-European cooperation can make a difference.
And the industry capacity is so critical in ensuring our data pipelines, our novel platforms, our future infrastructure and so forth. Right?
Yeah. And once that knowledge and innovation community is set up, it can support innovators such as Annalisa from Vula and give them the type of support that they need to get to the next level. So at this stage, it's not so much for the individual startups, entrepreneurs to apply, but really for the organizations that can set up such a partnership.
Mm-hmm. How long usually, in terms of the process, it takes to set up a kick? Is the time horizon still manageable, I have to ask?
I think for now, creating a consortium from scratch, that's already very late, but probably still possible. Obviously, there is an opportunity to probably form or contribute to some of the emerging consortia. That's why we have put up on our website a matchmaking tool where any organization who is interested in this opportunity can apply and can register and can find like-minded other organizations with which to participate. And I think it's a must that always we're looking at the pan-European partnership, which will have a number of hubs across Europe and which really has that vision to make a European strategic transformation in the sector.
Yes. We have a little bit less than 7 minutes to go. First of all, I would like to kind of summarize again that 26th of October, the call will be opening at the EIT website. If you are a starting entrepreneur, an educational institution, a radical innovation organization, investor, R&D unit, please go and familiarize. There is a support and matchmaking tool available, and there, as you said before, there will be specific workshops and events coming up in the next month to support the applicants to the process. I would like to actually finalize with giving each of you about 1 minute to reflect the future scenario. A few days ago, one of those big multinationals has said that they would like to embark on creating a metaverse, right? Which will be a conglomeration of content, technology, and the next generation internet and digital so forth. And the giant said that they want to create 10,000 jobs in Europe, which can be read that they will capture 10,000 jobs in Europe. So I think the EIT Kick is a wonderful opportunity to keep that 10,000 jobs in Europe and perhaps build a next metaverse from Europe. Very shortly, in 7 years, if the kick is successful, which I think it will be, what do you think the main outcome for each of you would be? What would be the after effect for the kick? And Lucia, I start from you.
Well, we are speaking here, this kick is very special in that we are dealing with IP intensive industries. And I think it will be very important if this kicks really helps the companies that will be part of this process to keep more IP ownership in European hands so it can be exploited for the rest of the world with a global ambition. But that really, I think this IP management, generation and creation being primarily European will be a great achievement of this kick.
So Europe as a global IP excellence leader. Martin.
I would see 4 things that would make such a kick a success. First, in 7 years' time, we see hundreds, if not thousands, students or people in Europe being trained with the skills, with the competence to become entrepreneurs in the creative sector. Secondly, hundreds of ideas being translated into companies, startups, and eventually product services that are put on the market and make an impact. Third, that we see collaborations all across Europe working on specific challenges in the field. And again, that we see tens, if not hundreds of solutions being put in terms of products and services that can be a success story in Europe, maybe some of them becoming the next unicorn. And finally, to have an ecosystem, to have a partnership that will ultimately sustain itself and keep doing that for more than the 7 years, way beyond the EIT funding.
Martin, do you have a example here from the previous kicks, which of a unicorn or a radical innovation that has come out of the kicks? I think there's quite a few.
There is a few. I mean, one of them that we're especially proud of is Northvolt. It's a company from Sweden that in only 2017 was basically just an idea, and an idea, a very ambitious one, to create the world's greenest batteries. And if we fast forward 4 years, they are indeed the unicorn. They have been supported by EIT InnoEnergy. They're part of the European Battery Alliance, and they have received by now over 3 billion euros of investment and creating thousands of jobs in Sweden, but even expanded into other parts of Europe to produce the world's greenest batteries. So that's the type of stories that inspire us.
Only in 4 years. Anna-Lisa.
Yeah, I agree with Martin's point, especially about collaboration. That's what I would like to see, since, in the recent years, I think the reasons or the motivations behind starting new ideas or companies have become much more diverse. It used to be, it's just about making money, but that's not the case anymore. So now there's definitely more collaboration between, companies that are made to be sustainable, companies that are made to develop culture. So I would like to see a lot of collaboration. Like we've already participated in 2 different kicks, so this could be the 3rd one. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential for collaboration.
So, making the next giant leap in European innovations, making European industries, especially in creativity, more sustainable in terms of business, more green, having those new industry coalitions that can have great breakthroughs, building European IP excellence, and perhaps, why not, building the metaverse or the next generation of creativity out of Europe. Thank you so much, Lucia. Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much, Anna-Lisa, for joining us here at the Frankfurt Book Fair. If you are visiting the book fair, we will be available around those studios to answer your questions. If you are not able to join us today, then keep in mind October 26th. The calls are opening up at the EIT homepage. Take advantage of the upcoming workshops in the months. Please actively reach out to the consortia. I've understood that consortia is already looking to recruit the members. And then join the European next kick that will take our creative industries in the future. Thank you so much joining us here in Frankfurt, and have a good day.